Hi guys, what's up? What's down, what's sideways? James here for Chronic Fatigue Syndrome, day 65. My friend, my enemy, my constant companion. I knew that's something I was forgetting. So I thought today I'd stand up. I haven't done a stand-up one for a while. Playing with lighting, backdrop's a bit different. Those are some of my swords. Those are some of my training DVDs. That's the computer. There's some more swords, as you can see over there. I like my swords. Sometimes just changing your perspective is a really good thing. Can be a really good thing. So I noticed that even though I'm getting more and more comfortable doing video sitting down, when I stand up, I'm less comfortable. Like, get me in front of a crowd of hundreds or thousands of people, fine, go do your thing. I actually find that less taxing than okay, I've got the camera in front of me, and it's bugging me that lighting to my side, but we'll just deal with it today. It could be a thing for the duality of the human individual, the part that you see, the part that you don't. But today I thought what I'd share is sometimes we like to have a rant. We like to get stuff off our chest. But really, so when you express yourself, sometimes it really is like, hey, I'll be bottling this up. I'm going to get off my chest. Hopefully in the most optimal and productive way as possible. You know, you don't go and destroy relationships that don't need destroying, or burning bridges that don't need burning, or saying things that later you go, I wish I hadn't done that. But you know, it's good to get stuff off our chest. But sometimes what I've been seeing in the the chronic fatigue syndrome support groups is there's this bandwagon mentality for something. People will jump on it and they burn out so much energy. I mean, I can only imagine, like, we don't have energy to start with, how much energy they burn out just being angry or upset about something that someone is doing, or something that is happening with their chronic fatigue syndrome, or fibromyalgia syndrome, whatever's going on. So for instance, like today I saw something about like some guy was claiming who had it for a really long time and cured himself with mindset and the gradual exercise training, GET training. And I was like, bother. I've been missing out all these years. I thought my mindset was pretty good, but apparently it's not as good. Needed to cure me. Anyway, so he was going on about how you only need mindset and gradual exercise therapy to cure chronic fatigue syndrome, and that, you know, only wanted to work with serious people. And this was like in another group somewhere else in the world. And this group that had come up on my news feed had screenshotted that post, put it over here, and like, guys, this person is saying this. If anyone's a member of that group, go and like have at him, you know, rah. And there was just this whole like, oh, bad, evil, shouldn't be doing that, rah rah, it doesn't work, rah rah. No, I'm not agreeing with the guy's methods. I'm not agreeing with stating that there's a cure. I'm not agreeing with what the guy was doing. And I do agree that there is a certain level of where we should kind of call someone out, you know, if we definitely know it's not going to work, you know. Suck a lollipop 3 times a day, not going to work, but I might try it. So yeah, I'm not saying like be complacent and be sheep and just follow along, but there's a difference between, you know, positively and constructively voicing your dissent with something, moving it forward, saying your piece and then letting it go. What normal people tend to do, and but it's actually worse. No, it can be really debilitating when you've got chronic fatigue syndrome to do this thing that normal people do, and that's to jump on the bandwagon and like rah 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 and just keep going instead of saying your piece and dropping it, or you know put it on the table and wipe it off. Instead of doing that, they keep going, and the amount of energy you invest in that drama by continuously letting it sit there on your chest and bringing it up. I mean, we don't have energy to start with, and you're burning so much non-existent energy on something that really is not productive. I mean, you could say like, oh, we're gonna like make sure no one else is misinformed and make sure he doesn't, you know, sell snake oil to anyone. Rah, rah, rah. Like, yeah, but you could do that like this. Hey, person, you know, on what grounds is the study being completed? You know, we've tried this kind of thing. It's not like you can, if you're going to say something, you can just engage that conversation, or don't feed the fire. You know, if someone asks like, hey, does this really work? And you're like, well, in my experience, no. And in 100 of us, our experience is no, or not in a very short amount of time that he's claiming anyway. But it's the constant dredging it up, you know, say a piece and leave it, be done with it. You don't have the energy to sustain that ongoing rah, 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 rah. Like, you know, you're going to walk around the house for the next 15, half an hour, rest of the day, going rah, rah, rah. The amount of energy you burn working yourself up and keeping that fire alive is stupendous. It's a lot. It's like more than a little. It's more than this much. It's a lot. So why? And there's a lot of reasons why we might do it. For some, it's the only way they can feel alive. You know, where a lot of the times we're imprisoned in this. So sometimes the only way I can feel alive is by rah, like getting angry at something and like stewing on it and like, oh my goodness, if I could just see him, I would, you know, smack him over the head with a soggy lettuce leaf. So sometimes that's how we feel alive, but it's detrimental. It's not. There's nothing to gain by it, and therefore, that raises the question: why would you do it? Not like why, as in kind of, you know, all right, maybe it makes you feel alive, though you might not want to admit it, or maybe you think that you're doing a good deed for others, but the why of the are you holding on to it so that you can keep stoking this fire? Because that's what you do. Every time you think about it, you keep stoking this fire, like make it a little go, a little bit brighter, like keep it alive. You're continuing to feed the fuel of this cranky fire. And the thing about this fuel for this cranky fire is, one, it uses the energy that we don't have to start with, and two, it wrecks us. You will crash. You will burn out. This is what a normal person will do. You got chronic fatigue syndrome, and you want to keep burning that particular fire. You're going to burn out. I'd love to use a really lovely forest analogy right now, but come up with one. It's lovely. You enjoyed it. So don't keep feeding that fire. Share, express, but don't keep coming back to it. Don't dwell on it. And if you are going to dwell on it, accept that you are currently doing more harm to yourself than the guy claiming he's got a cure for chronic fatigue syndrome. He just said something and put it out there. You're continuously dwelling and stoking that fire. Not his fault. Your fault. Or the consequence of that action is that. People don't like to hear that it's their fault, that they don't feel well, because they go like, oh, I don't have chronic fatigue syndrome because it's my fault. And no, I'm not saying that you've got, you know, it's your fault you've got chronic fatigue syndrome. I'm saying it's your fault for continuing to feel that way. Not the chronic fatigue syndrome way, the way of where you're burning your non-existent energy, where you're keeping a fire alive that it's not productive. It's not like the fire of motivation to achieve our goals. It's the fire of cranky that produces no good energy for us. Okay, so if you come across that thing, if you want to say your piece, but say it and leave it. Don't keep carrying it with you. Don't keep feeding that fire. Just like you don't have that energy to start with. Think about what you could do, like express yourself and then take that energy and put it into you. You know, maybe you want to cook today. Maybe you want to write something. Maybe you want to play your instrument. Maybe you want to have the energy to press buttons. Maybe you want to have the energy to brush your teeth. Put it into that, as opposed to putting it in, giving it to someone else where it's not going to go anywhere. It's just blowing in the wind. Okay, so thank you very much for letting me share with you day 60. Oh, 566. I'll get it right when I type the number. So thank you very much. If you've got any questions or you want to introduce yourself, feel free to do so below. Like, share, subscribe, hit the little notification button. And thank you very much for letting me share with you rants, the good, the bad, and the not so good.